Okay, Jason, this is Joseph, and I'm going to show you a couple of things in my truck that I definitely want to do. And as you can see, the big 215s in the back seat just can't happen anymore with my little boy and everything. I got to give him his back seat back, and I definitely, positively do not want to run under the back seats, because you can probably see I've got my extra battery under one side, and the other side's probably not big enough to put a 10 or a 12 in it. It actually sounds decent, and it's the only storage I have without carrying my truck box, so I'd like to keep the other side so I can store stuff in it. But I've got everything mounted, of course, and never had anybody do any work or do anything for me for the audio. I've always done it myself, so everything's mounted like it should be, and I've done everything, big wires and stuff, and push pads for all my electronic stuff. But let's get to the big stuff here. This is what's going to come out. As you can see, it's just a normal armrest. I'd like to be able to reuse this, but I'll show you here in a second why I might not be able to. But this is what I want to do for a 10-inch speaker. If I could, I'd like to keep this bottom part here and then reuse that as an armrest. But I'm going to be honest with you, check it out. There's really nothing in here, an iPod, a couple of papers and stuff, nothing that won't fit my glove box. So, I mean, I can get rid of that if I have to, because it will give up. It does take up a lot of room, because with this, let me get this out. You actually, from the tabs at the bottom, you have about 10 inches high in the front and back that you'll be able to use. Just because that's the only way to get that armrest the same height when it's down, is to keep everything the same height. And then in order to reuse the top, it can only be, I think, 13, about 13 and a half wide, and that's how I could reuse the top on a smaller box. I'm seriously just thinking about getting rid of the whole thing, and if that's the case, I'm gonna put those are the two measurements, and the height would have to be 10 and a half high by 13 and a half wide, and of course, going from here in the front to the back could be anywhere to 24 inches. So it's a little over 1 cubic foot if I want to reuse the armrest and keep the bottom. But on the other hand, oh, let me get my cripple self in here. Alright, here we go. Easiest thing to do. Ta-da! That thing's out, and then it gives us all this space here. So I'm keeping the original tabs down here so I could screw the box into something solid so it won't move. But this is something else I wanted to show you. These tabs are actually high enough over this hump. You can barely see it. We can see how it humps up right here. These tabs are actually high enough that the box will sit flat and be even. It will be level. And you can go all the way from the front, which would give you, of course, about 24 inches back. But this is the part where you get more. 24 inches, up to 24 inches on the bottom, but it would have to be 14 inches tall, and that would be the height of the old armrest, so it'd still feel like it was supposed to be built in here. So I mean, it wouldn't feel any different on my arms, higher or lower. It would be 14 inches high, and 14 would be perfect. And it'll also give you, from seat to seat, right at 16 inches. I would probably say 15 and a half. 16 will squeeze in here, and it actually would, 16, yeah, 16 would be perfect, because it'll fit between the seats, it'll fit tight. Trying to think of anything else I would probably need to tell you. The only other thing I could probably say is on the front, the top part may have to lean back, which I mean lean back is lean back this way, because if it's straight up and down, the 14 will end here, and I will have to literally reach over the top of the box to get to my amp or to get to my cup holders. So that'll give you an idea of what I'm working with and what kind of space I'm working with too. So like I said, I'm probably just going to give up this for a while, unless you can find a suitable box that will be 10.5 high by 13.5 wide and upwards of 24 inches deep from front to back. Then I'll be able to remount this. But if otherwise, don't think you can manage to have one like that, a box that is 14 inches high, 16 inches across, and from front to back up to 24 inches for the bottom. And that's if you put a lean on the front. That way I can reach everything without having the box in my way up here at the top. That's kind of what I wanted to show you today. And like I said, I'm going to cover it in alligator skin because that's about as close as I can get to this to where it will mimic the look of that. And the sides are going to be an alligator skin for the box, and the top and the back more than likely will be clear plexiglass. I'm going to put a couple of lights in there. I've got power wires for a cigarette lighter thing so I can plug things in. I'm going to put an auxiliary on the outside, but otherwise it's just upwards of 14 inches high, 16 inches across, and anywhere from 24 to probably 22 to 24 inches deep, and have to be at a curve so I can reach my cup holder. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.